April can, connect in. Did you set her up as a webinar attendee or
No,
no?
she can join in and then I can just add her as a webinar.
Okay.
April, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, we just wanted to make sure we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay.
Sorry, I had. All right. So we did not print, I printed out a copy of everything just for purposes of being able to put everything together to take to the bond attorney. After this, but, Crystal was assuming everybody had their computer and would just look at stuff online. Okay. Well, you and I can share my computer if we need to, and then if you, actually, you know what, I'll just move all this over there and let you use it because I have the documents. I have a copy of everything, so I don't need to look it up on the, computer. Lovely, it's a math, which is not your,
It'll work.
it'll work, okay.
Yeah, we're good, no worries.
Okay, still no response from Keith. He could be in a deposition or trial or something today, I don't know. So we will call this meeting to order. It is 3:00 on, just checking the temp. I don't know if it's just me starting to sweat or if it's hot in here.
I think it's comfortable.
Ugh. Okay, so it's, 3:04 PM on Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. And this is a special meeting that, about the bonding and loan process for the purchase of the church. And as I said in the, email that I sent, the text message I sent to everybody earlier, that the, when we were setting this date, that the bond attorney specifically requested that we do this meeting before the 4th of July because of, the time constraints with posting a notice for a public hearing, holding the public hearing, all the stuff that we need to do. And, the church agreed to continue the closing for 30 days so that we could get all of this done. So, that's what all this is about. So I had as I told you guys in my text message, I had a meeting on, Thursday at the bank. And the bank got the bond counsel on the phone, and he said that we had to do this before, he's the one who said in that phone, that Zoom call, the conference call, that we had to do this before the 4th of July, in order to meet all the different deadlines that were going to be required to meet. And I had understood that we would be getting a bridge loan. And that we were gonna ask for a year or two on the bridge loan, and then we would proceed some in that period with the bonding process. What the bond attorney said is, no, it doesn't matter if we're getting a bridge loan. We have to do the process before anything, just like we did when we, did the bonding for the east water tank last year, and we're following the exact same process that we did last year for the east water tank. And this is the exact same process, well, it's almost the same process for the water tank. We did not have to do this thing called the local building authority, for the east water tank. But we did do it, and I brought the documents from 2013 when we did the bonding for the renovation of this old church. We had to do the local building authority process. And so I brought the paperwork for that so that if you guys had any questions, and I pulled it out, and it is exactly the same documents even as what we have today, as what was done then. And according to the bond attorney, what we had done in 2013 for the local building authority, that we had then has expired, and so we have to do this again for the local building authority. And that's what this resolution is, and that is exactly what's in this folder. I pulled it out and compared it, and it is exactly the same documents as we did in 2013. Although John Grow was the president then, but by the time, he was the mayor then when we did this, but by the time we actually went and signed bonds for the renovation of the church, it was into 2014 because Bruce was mayor then. And Monica and Bruce and I had to drive to Richfield to sign all the documents for the bonding for doing the work on this church. And so it took some time from the time this happened to the time we actually signed papers for the bonds. So Bruce was mayor then. But I brought it to show it's the same paperwork. So if you guys have any questions and want to look at it, it's right here from 2013. Or,
Those just two copies of the same thing?
no, one says agendas and one says, okay, which is actually the way it got filed, they just took the agenda for today's meeting and put it in one folder. And then the document was put in a different folder instead of just one folder for both. I don't know why it was done that way, as if we were gonna have other meetings maybe for the building authority, but we didn't. So, according to, so if necessary, since I can't get Keith to, answer, we could always get, Susan from, see if Susan Baxter can get on the phone from Richard Chamberlain's office. I tried to call her earlier with the question, but it gave the phone did something strange. I'll try her again.
But both of these resolutions really are setting up the timeframe of July 23rd as the decision making on.
That's the public hearing.
That's a public hearing, but then after the public hearing, don't we have to adopt resolutions?
Is Susan there?
Is she speaking?
Hi, Susan. This is Jean, the mayor of Virgin.
Hi.
I have you on speakerphone because I think we have some of our town council members have questions on this procedure that we're following. So I thought I'd have you on the phone to be able to answer questions. Is that okay?
You bet.
Okay.
That was
So July 23rd, so Paul Louis was just asking about the July 23rd public hearing date. So what exactly was your question, Paul?
Well, we have the public hearing and we take protests and we hear the testimony. What actions are going to be taken immediately following that public hearing on July 23rd?
Did you hear that?
no action will be taken. You're just going to listen to people, and basically, so the purpose of this hearing, to see if there is any economic impact on the private sector. There really, technically there isn't, it's not like they're gonna get a water bill. And where you're buying a building, that's why we issue these revenue bonds. And, it used to be that you had to do a general obligation bond to issue this type of this type of a project. But what's going to happen And I guess I'm going to use a different scenario. So if there are privately owned golf courses in Virgin, and Virgin County decides that they want to build a golf course, there would be an economic impact on those privately owned golf courses. Nobody's offering to build you a town hall, a public safety facility and that. So there really isn't an economic impact. And you'll just have lots of different questions, but the bottom line is it's not going to impact the way they're thinking, like I said, they're not gonna get a water bill to pay for this. And so you're just going to listen to them and say, thank you, and close your meeting.
Okay, thank you, and
That makes sense.
I think he's gonna have another question, hold on.
Well, since we have you on the phone, I have a couple of questions. The fact that the resolutions say public safety building, fire department building, we're not obligated to use that facility for those purposes, should we decide not to do so, are we?
No, that's just what the anticipated project is. It may be that as you get things finished for the town hall and that, you're gonna say, you know, we really don't have the funds right now to do all of these other things. You're fine, because it's for the purchase of the property and whatever improvements you make.
Okay, and these bonds are for 15 years or for 30 years?
That is my understanding, that's what Lenore Warby, told me, is that it would be a 15-year bond.
That's the bank that told her that. When she said Lenore Warby told her that, it was the guy at the bank. Because I called Susan on Friday and said, what is this 15 years? I thought we were going to do 30 years. But the bank said they don't do any more than 15. So at first I was very worried when I looked at everything. I was like, we can't afford this. And then I realized that we spend money in that amount easily.
Okay.
And I can explain more with the budget on that,
I don't know
but
if you need her on the phone
for that, yeah. But I don't wanna hang up and then us have to call her back with more questions. Any questions from you, Misty? No, because we've been through, this is, our third time through this. April, do you have any questions?
No, I think Paul asked the questions that I was thinking about.
Okay, Marcy. And Marcy says she does not have any questions. Are you gonna be around, Susan, in case we need to call you back?
I am, yes.
Okay,
Let me tell you, you're adopting this resolution, and, we're going to advertise that you're going to issue bonds, that you're going to, hold a public hearing. But after you do the public hearing and that, and you say, you know what, we just need to hold off on this, we're just not ready for it. It's not like because you have adopted these that you are 100%, you have to do exactly what it says that you're doing.
okay. I assume none of that happens until later and we sign paperwork at the bank and then we have further paperwork to sign with regard to the bonds.
Correct.
Okay, and then it becomes, binding.
Then it's a done deal.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right,
Yes.
I'm gonna hang up and if we have any other questions, I'll call you back. Okay, thanks, Susan.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. She works at Richard Chamberlain's office, the bond counsel. She's his, I don't know paralegal exactly what her job title is, but she's,
Assistant.
yeah, she is who we deal with most of the time at his office. That's who we dealt with back in, 2013 when we were doing this building, and then that's who we've dealt with, in the fall when we were doing the, we all have to sign that about this meeting that's taking place today. That's why Misty passed that on to you. That we're agreeing to this special meeting. Those are basically saying that we all agree to this meeting that we're having today.
Right, we hereby waive any and all irregularities. What were those, if any, it says if any.
So
I'll call Susan and ask Susan. She's the one who sent us this and said you have to sign it. I am not the person who prepared that.
that's up to special notice.
It's gonna come your way for your
Yeah, what's
signature.
the concern about that?
I have no
I
idea.
just did mention-
Mark wants to know what the irregularities could be.
Oh, that's,
Is that just because this meeting wasn't part of our
Right.
regular annual calendar? Is
yeah,
that-
yeah, then you didn't get service, but you're here.
Okay,
That would be one
That's all
example.
I'm
Yeah, yeah, that's why I don't know if we need to call it back.
Okay,
I think it's anything that would vitiate the notice of us proceeding.
okay.
You know, we didn't provide you with we didn't serve you personally
serve you with
versus
yeah.
some other way.
Yeah, but when you show up,
When
then
you,
you have waived the service,
Yeah.
correct? If you show up for the
You can show
special
up
meeting,
with
you have
this.
waived lack of service, yes. Okay, so if you would sign those and then we'll send them over to Paul and then we're gonna scan it and send it to, here's a pen. Or she's got a pen.
so I think the central question is, can we afford it?
That was
That's what I
that was,
think we need
yes,
to address.
that was my worry when I was at the bank and we got on the phone with the council. And I said, no, I thought we were going to have a bridge loan and then we would proceed with this later. And they said, no, that is not how this goes. You have to do all of this ahead of time. And she explained, and I understood where she was coming from, and Susan explained that what it is if we do a loan and then we do the bonds are to pay off the loan, not to do a capital improvements project.
Right.
Is to pay off the loan.
Right.
And if we do all this way together, it's a loan and the bonds to fund a capital improvements project. And she said, no, you have to do it this way. And I was like, oh, I totally thought we had a year to proceed with the bonds. And, so then when this came out with saying, here, I'll give those to Crystal. Here's these, Crystal, and then we're gonna, scan these and send them to April for her signature. So she's not here to sign them. Okay. So when I got the paperwork, the first set of paperwork, well, I didn't get, none of the paperwork arrived until yesterday. It was just conversations and talking with the bank on Thursday and with Susan on Friday. And I said, because I called her, I said, I don't know that we can afford these payments. I'm really worried. And, we sat down and discussed it more. And then lo and behold, the same day, Leroy sends me his final report showing what our tax revenue was for the 2023-2024 calendar year. And this is just tax revenue. This does not include revenue from property taxes, business licenses, all this other revenue.
So when you say tax revenue, non-property tax revenue.
Resort,
Yeah,
sales, transient room
tax.
tax, highway transient tax. It's four taxes. It does not include property taxes, and this is purely revenue. And it does not include, business licenses. So I went back and looked at our recent, budget report when we adopted the budget, a week or so ago, to see how much money we received this past year in licenses and permits and property taxes. And, so here, according to this tax report from Leroy, we received $778,000 in revenue from resort tax, sales tax, transient room tax, and highway transient tax. so slightly less than $800,000. And then with property taxes and the taxes from licenses and permits last year, and I don't think we're gonna have that much this next year. Those two together were about $250,000. So putting those together, our total revenue last year was over $1 million. So 174,000 is not that much. And if we took the 174,000 annual payment, divided it up monthly, Crystal and I looked at it and said, we pay Heath Snow that much in a month,
What does that come to?
14,000,
14,000 a month.
14,400.
A month.
So what Susan told me when when I talked to her on Friday, and she was working on all these papers, she said she had talked to this guy, Lenore Warby at the bank, who's the one who's really in charge of this loan. And that he wanted to set the due date for the payment to be in January, because by the end of January, we would have received all the property taxes that would be coming in, because they start coming in at the end of the year and through January. And we would have that tax revenue to apply to the annual payment, plus whatever we had accumulated over the 6-month period, the first 6 months of the year. And then we would have the property taxes, and that's why they wanted to set the payment due date for January. And I was like, oh, okay, so I want to go back and see how much we had gotten in property taxes last year, and what we had put in the budget for what we expect next year.
Remind me what the payment would have been, because I've got to look it up before I keep.
If it had been 30,
Yes.
I do not know. However, the one thing that would be the case if it was 30 years, is the amount of interest we're paying. And so, paying it off earlier is the less interest we're paying. And at first, when I first looked at, they sent an email saying to the banker saying, okay, this came from Richard Chamberlain's office saying, we need answers to these questions so that we can prepare this paperwork. And it was, how many years for the bond? What's the interest rate? How much interest will be paid over the course of the loan? How much this? And I looked at the answers that came back from the bank, and that's why I jumped on the phone and called Susan and went, oh my God, I don't know that we can do this. And, I was like, I don't understand. We've never had to do this before. What's the interest rate? What's the interest that we're paying? I don't understand. We haven't done this before. And then I realized, of course, the 2 prior bond things we've done, we had loans from the state at 0% interest. So they did them for 30 years. We had no interest. The interest rate was 0. And I went, oh, we are paying interest, and this is coming from a private facility. This is not money coming from the state at 0% interest. So I was like, oh, okay, I now see what the difference is in what we have done before and what we're doing now.
And this is a, revenue bond, not a general obligation bond, correct?
That's what she said, yes. And so what these 2 resolutions are, they're almost identical. If you looked at the 2 resolutions, it's almost like the only difference is on the front page. Yes, exactly. Because one says it's for the local business of building authority and the other is the town council, but otherwise these 2 resolutions are almost word for word the same. And the attachments where they have exhibit A, B, C, D are the same thing, which is this, and that, the lease, the master resolution, and the security documents. And so I started to make duplicate copies of all the attachments, and I thought, this is silly, look at this, it's a ream of paper. And it's the exact same attachments for each resolution, they should just go into one packet. So, anyway, I did print off each of these, I see that just about every one of these requires, signatures by me and Crystal, and to be notarized by, Susan Baxter in Richfield. And if Monica remembers, me and you and Bruce drove to Richfield to sign all the paperwork for the bonding for this church. And, we may be doing the same thing. I just need to see if in today's world we can do it online or by Zoom, or if we really have to drive all the way to Richfield. Not that it's that big of a drive, but still.
This is new for me, so if I don't make sense of my question.
Okay,
bear
well,
with me.
it was, as I said, when we did this in the fall for the east water tank, because it had been years since we did it for this, I was struggling with understanding the process, and now this time I feel better about it.
So the debt burden, like debt to income ratio in the town's, like their credit rating and risk,
Mhm.
does this affect that at all? Like the town only has so much, purchasing power is only allowed so much credit, can only get so many loans and that sort of thing. So does this?
I do not know how to answer that, to be honest. I know that when we contacted the bank about a loan, they wanted all our financial statements for the past 4 years. We sent it, and they took one look at it and said, oh, you're fine. And said the debt to income ratio, they were just like, yeah, no, not a problem. So I figure if the bank took one look at what we have now and said, this is not an issue as far as they were concerned. And Leroy explained at one of our town council meetings that there is a number, there's a system that the bank looks at, and if there was a number at which they don't want to go above or below, whichever it was, and our number was half of what was the number that they consider a no-go. So we're half of that, so that's why they were not a problem for Virgin. And it's because of this revenue for all the different sales taxes that, and I think it's gonna be more next year because we have more businesses that are gonna be coming online. I think,
We're also gonna add, hopefully, the point.
oh, that other resort tax you wanna do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, not the resort tax, because that's gonna probably require
That's
an
something
election.
else, but it's the,
We were at
The
1%, and we could go to
the
1.1.
Transient tax,
Yeah,
okay, I
we could
was.
go to
we're
1.1.
aligned, we should max that out. So
Yeah,
that's a-
and that's what I'm working on. with
Okay,
the-
I just when it was the resort tax, but
That-
it's the
that's
transient.
Yeah, we
There,
got
there's
two.
there's two separate ones, you
Two
do a
separate.
resort tax and a transit.
Yeah, I know, they're both on here, but
So-
one of them, I know we are not charging the max, or you say we're not
That's
charging
the
the max?
transient room tax.
Transient room tax, we did it at 1%,
Yeah,
and we could go to 1.1.
okay,
And I will work with Heath to get the resolution
Yeah.
prepared on that.
yeah, okay, I just wanted to the resort.
Well, then it's also the resort tax, and that's what led me to, I was looking about the resort tax. And that's when I discovered we weren't charging the maximum on the transient room tax. So, but in order to do the resort tax, we had to charge business licenses in a certain manner. We did, but not in the manner that was contemplated by statute, at least that I can find yet. And I found one resolution, I'll send it off to Keith, but I wanted to do more research next week to just make sure there wasn't anything out there I'm missing.
So are we charging the max on the
No.
resort tax?
No, we're 0.1 off.
Oh, that's on the transient room tax, but what about the resort tax? Are we at maxing
We're
out?
at the maximum unless we do an additional 5%, which we can do,
Okay.
but it appears we may have to go to an election. And
Oh,
that's
for
what
that.
I'm researching to
Okay.
make sure that there's nothing out there that will allow us just to. do it.
But if I understanding you correctly, we could increase the transient room tax and the resort tax.
Correct.
Just one requires an election, one does not.
Correct,
Okay. All right.
correct. You got it now.
Okay. So the local building authority, I don't know if you guys looked that up in the state code at all, what this local building authority is. When towns have buildings that they want to purchase a building or they want to renovate a building that they already own, anything to do with buildings that, involves the town, you create what is called the local building authority. And I was reading the Local Building Authority Act, it's 17D-4- something or another. Anyway. Is it on here? They don't even have the code on here. But there's a whole code in the state code called the Local Building Authority Act. And it explains what the local building authority does, and anytime you're going to do anything with buildings that the town owns or wants to acquire, the local building authority, which is the same people that make up the town council. It's like we are just switching our hats. Oh, we're the local building authority. Oh, we're the town council, but it's exactly the same people. And, as the local building authority, we make decisions on what's gonna happen with the buildings. And then we put our hats on and say, okay, as a legislative decision, we're going to do this. I know it sounds so silly, but that's what the code requires. So that's why on this ordinance, the very first thing is for us to go back and open up the local building authority again, because it's been dormant, I guess would be a good word, dormant since this building was finished. And we've never had any anything else we needed to do with the local building authority. But now that we want to acquire some more buildings for the town, we need to have the local building authority. And the local building authority also is the one that issues the bonds, according to, they issue the bonds, they bizarrely lease the property to the town until such time as the bonds are paid off, and then it becomes actually the property of the town. Silly, but that's the way they have this.
And
that's why there's-
understanding it, and I was like, I don't know if this sounds weird.
Yeah, so that's why there's a lease. And the master resolution that includes the lease and the bonds and the whole thing. You just look at it and go, is this just a made up thing so that bond council can make some money? I don't know why it has to be so difficult for a town to just buy a building, but that's what this is. So the very first thing we are required to do is to reinvigorate our local building authority, which has been dormant since like 2016, I'm guessing. I think in 2016 or 2015 is when this building was done, 2016 maybe. And I know Bruce was still mayor. And so the building authority has basically been dormant since then, and we're just reviving this. April, do you have any questions so far?
No, I read all those documents the best I could, and I would have to defer to an attorney to let me know exactly if they are correct. And so
And these all came from an attorney.
if Heath was on the line and we could ask him if he's read the documents, I think I'd
Yeah, that's my question. Did he review these?
I don't know that he has or has not.
Okay.
But we only got them yesterday. We only got them like yesterday afternoon at
So
1:30.
probably not.
Probably not, but these, I can tell you, these are the same documents that we did in 2013, because I was on town council and I've got copies here. And some of these, like this master resolution, is what we did when we did the three of us, me and you and Misty did this master resolution in September when we did the east water tank. And we did these two documents we did for the east water tank. This is the town resolution and the master resolution. The local building authority resolution with the lease and the security agreement, the security agreement would have been with the bonds too. That would have been in both of them. This other one, I know that we did in 2013 because I was on town council and I've got the copies here. I pulled them out before the meeting so that in case I need to show you guys that these were the same documents we did before. But as she said, this binds us in no way until we actually sign the loan at the bank and we actually sign the bonding documents. And until then, this is merely adopting these resolutions saying we want to do this, and that's all this is.
So basically, this is just a required procedure that we need to do in order to move this forward. Is that correct?
Right, and one of these says, I think it is the town council resolution. Indicates that we are going to have the public hearing is being said, is that inside one of these two resolutions?
Yes, it is.
Mhm. I'm looking for the wording. What page it's on.
Well. Right here, section 7.
There we go, notice of public hearing. Yes, section 17, yes, thank you. Section 17 in both of these, let's see if that's the case. No, just the local building authority resolution indicates that we are going to be having a public hearing on July 23rd. To take public comment and in the manner that Susan was referring to. When we talked to her.
So are we still under the due diligence phase?
Yes, because they extended it, I had to call them because, when we did this when I had this conference with, the bank and bond counsel on Thursday. And I just thought I was going in to say, okay, what do we do about the loan? And they said, oh, we need to get bond counsel on the phone. And I'm like, why? Why do we need them? And they explained. And then he gets on the phone and he explains, oh, no, we have to do this whole thing before. I'm like, wait, I thought we're getting a loan and then doing this. And they're like, well, technically we are, but you have to go through this process beforehand, no matter what. And I said, oh, okay. I'm gonna have to get the closing date for with the church extended because we'll never get this done in this time frame. And so I called the church, talked to them, and they said, sure, 30 days wasn't a problem. If it was any more than 30 days, then they'd have a problem. But because I was just asking for an additional 30, which would give us until August the 10th, they were okay with it.
So we're still waiting on the addendum to identify the 3 water shares by certificate, was that?
That, we just need a, yes, Crystal will be talking with, Lisa to get that. It's just some sort of certificate that'll be transferring ownership to us, and it goes in all the paperwork with, at the
Oh,
end.
okay, I thought Heath was gonna look into something.
No, all we need to get is something from the canal company.
Oh, no, I think are you talking about she's talking about the addendum and the paperwork, right? Is that what you're-
Yeah, I thought
She's talking about the 3 irrigation shares.
Yeah, but you're talking about adding the addendum,
The
and the
addendum.
paperwork, that already got done.
it did, okay.
Yeah. Remember at the other meeting, how you were saying you were gonna sign it unless the addendum was in there and included the shares?
Yeah.
And that was the motion as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was already done. and
That's done.
They already.
Yeah, that's done. That's when I signed the contract.
Yeah,
That's done.
Because Heath was gonna look at the statute further about the
Yeah,
definition of property.
Remember, he was gonna reach out and say, will you put this in there? And
Yes.
he reached out to him.
Yes,
That's what
and
you're
they-
talking about?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
been done.
that's done.
Okay.
That's done.
That's done, and once that was done, then I signed the contract because I called Heath and said, okay, now that this is done, do I need to do anything else or can I sign the contract? He said, no, you were authorized to sign the contract. If this was done, this has been done.
Yeah,
You signed the contract.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what the motion was,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
asking. to-
Yeah. If that's been done, and that was on June the 10th. So that's why when I called the church and asked if we can extend this 30 days, it now goes to August 10th.
Okay.
To finish all this. So that's why this public hearing on July 23rd gives us just like a little over 2 weeks before we come up with the 10th and close everything.
Okay, and are we still waiting on the asbestos testing result?
That has come in.
Okay.
The asbestos testing results have come in, the building inspector has done his thing. The only thing we're still waiting on is the survey. We had to call 3 different engineering firms before we found anyone who had the time. Well, when we were calling the engineering firm, we were trying to get it done for July 10th.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, and we were like, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. And everybody's like, we don't have time, we're full, we're busy. And this one company said, yes, we can do it for life. Thank you. And so their fee, and that, I'm glad you asked about the different things, because I meant to bring this up in the meeting here tonight. The fee to do the, survey. I got the agreement that they want me to sign, and I have not signed it yet, because I want to talk to you guys about it, because it's over my spending authority. And it's only by $400, but it's $10,400. I'm like, what, to do a survey? Are you kidding me? But it's a specific type of survey, and it's on their form. They're doing what's called an ALTA, ALTA survey. And I went and looked up, the average price of an ALTA survey is over $4,000. And I was like, oh, and there's 2 pieces of property, so they're charging $5,200 for each piece. Or it may be that they're doing more for the church and less for this, but the 2 together is $10,400. So I did not sign I didn't sign it yet because I was like, okay, this is outside my spending authority, and, but it has to get done for us to close on this. And so part of the reason why the, amount of money we were borrowing was the amount it was when we went over the amount that, we had the purchase price for the property, and then we had the renovation price that was, quote, estimate that was given to us by the contractor. And I went $100,000 more, because I figured there's gonna be a cost for this, there's gonna be a cost for this, there's gonna be a cost for this. And sure enough, so anyway, I almost had a heart attack when I saw the estimate for the, survey, because I was expecting something like $2,500. And, but when I looked it up, this Alta survey, it's a much more in-depth, extensive survey that they do.
So Mayor, since we
Yes.
have a little more time, do you think it might be a good idea to get a few more estimates then from engineering firms?
Well, we already contacted 3, and this was the first one that actually said they had the time. Now, I can go back to the other 2 that did not have the time and say, now that we have more time, would you please give us an estimate? I can ask that, but we also have to be sure that whoever this is gonna put it on their calendar and get it done in time.
Right.
So, but I have no objection to calling the other 2 firms that we called and asking them if they can do it within this new time frame and what their price would be.
Well, I got off the phone with Bush and Gudrell today, and they said they cannot do it within the next 30, probably not even the next 60 days.
Okay,
They were like, no,
they're so busy.
I'm guessing everybody's.
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I was on the phone with the engineering company today, because I got left out of this conversation, but, yeah, and, because I was still calling, I didn't know.
but I sent you a text message. I sent you an email or a text message that said this, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
I was
Anyway, it
calling,
doesn't
and
matter.
I was having the same problem, you guys have been having, no, you can do it, they're all
Do
busy.
you need an agenda item to authorize you to spend more than your authority?
Yes, but what I would probably do is put it on the special meeting next week, because if we wait until our meeting after that, we're running into the problem.
Yeah.
By the time I sign it, their calendar is full and they can't get it in. So I want to at least call the guy to say, I'll do this as an agenda item on this day, but you can assume you guys need to put it on your calendar, at least put it on your calendar, so that it doesn't, get delayed.
So is there asbestos?
No,
There's not.
no.
Okay.
There was no-
that's-
oh,
we
sorry.
we got the results.
Okay, well, you asked me if the results were in. I said, yes.
I mean, she gave us, she'd gotten a verbal confirmation that it was free.
Okay.
And then she was waiting for the paperwork.
But it's coming.
Confirmation is the paperwork came
Yeah, so when you asked if the results in, I'm like, well, yeah,
That's great.
but you didn't ask, what are the results? So that's the attorney in me. You asked me this, I answered that.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no asbestos, no lead, no mold. Everything was great.
That's great.
Yes. So we got it passed with flying colors. And the building inspector just had a couple of things that he noticed where he said, after we buy the church, we should have an engineer look at this and look at this, that he didn't consider it anything like a big deal. There was just a little water damage in one of the utility rooms where all the different utilities are. There's a little water damage that he wanted to have looked at, but he didn't think it was any big deal. And the other just has to do, I believe, with the sidewalk that's outside around the side. There's some tree roots that have lifted up some concrete, and he wants it fixed. And I think that was really all there was that the building inspector had as things for us to do. Oh, and then where there were two walls that we potentially would take down to make these two small rooms, one bigger room, each one. He just said, before you do that, have a structural engineer make sure about the walls. That's it. Yeah. Paul, what's up?
Nothing, we're just listening.
Oh, okay. Well, you were doing away on your computer, so I wasn't sure what you were, if you were finding stuff with more questions.
No, well, yes, but I don't think they're gonna get answered tonight. I was looking through the budget that
That we
the
got.
body schedule adopted last week. And it appears, just on my quick glancing, is that we put the total revenue in. And, which is consistent with the way you thought the loan was gonna be
Mhm, yes.
processed. And I did not see an expenditure.
No, because we didn't think there was.
So I was trying to get to that 30-year expenditure and it's not listed, so that would be, I would want to know what the previous 30-year was, but that's minor. I think the biggest thing, looking at it, is can we add, with the current budget, assuming it's the same, could we add 14,400
A month.
a month?
And that would just go into like an account because we only make one payment, one
Yeah,
annual payment.
but it's still a payment to pay off the bill. And looking at your revenue projections, based on what Leroy just paid, your revenue projections are way low.
Oh, I know they are.
So it appears that we have the money, just before the 23rd, or before our final end date. I wanna kind of go through the budget and take a look at whether we have that money, so.
When you say the final end date, you mean the final end date for all this paperwork?
Yeah, before we're
Yeah.
bound.
Sure.
And maybe that's a matter of you and Becky sitting down
And we
going
can get
through it.
Candace too, because Candace can.
Just sit there and confirm
Mhm.
that we can afford $14,400, and if not, what we would have to cut to afford it.
Okay, yeah, because Crystal and I were talking about this when I called her Friday and was hyperventilating over the price, like going, oh my gosh, we can't, and Susan they talked me off the ledge. Susan at Chamberlain's office and Crystal, I was like, we're gonna have to tighten our belts, we're gonna have to really tighten our belts and cut things. And then we looked at it and went, wait, 14,400 a month we paid out in the bill for heat. And,
Well, I thought about if we just cut the mayor's budget to zero.
That'll be 1 month's payment. 1 month. But, I thought, the other thing I thought, after we talked down off the ledge, was how when we did the renovation for this church and we got the bonds in 2013, we were essentially hyperventilating over the fact that the annual payment was gonna be $7,500. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna do that? And to think that we now have revenue like this is still mind-blowing to me that we have this kind of revenue. After being to where, as Monica said, Candace told her, you don't even buy a paper clip, because we were so broke. And now here we are doing this, I'm like, I still have trouble accepting the change.
Which goes to my argument on the budget a month ago, which is the town manager, but I'm gonna just be kneeling that.
Yeah, you're just gonna go around. So, anyway, okay, so can we then just vote on these two resolutions and call it a day and
Do
set
we
our?
need to take a motion to go into a building authority and go out of the building authority? Because the way that Susan was explaining it to me on the phone is
That we needed to do that?
we needed to do that.
Okay.
So,
All right,
Well, we can overdo it. If we do it,
Yeah.
it's overdone.
Well, you could do it as a joint session too, just to
Just
cover.
make a motion to put it in as a joint session.
yeah.
Yes, as a joint session, of town council and the county. Yeah, that way we just take one action and.
oh, and by the way, all this other stuff where you were asking her if we put in this safety, facility. When you were asking Susan, are we bound to that, because we put the word safety facility? She was asking what all are, as she was trying to prepare these documents and to justify bonds and what is this capital improvement project, she's like, what are you guys gonna be doing with all of this? And we're like, well, there could be this, and this, and so she needed to indicate what all was going to be this
Yeah,
capital.
I pretty much assumed that, but I know the public would have had questions, so that's why I asked the question is more for all of us to confirm what I thought, and second, so the public would know that we're not bound by it, because we have not yet had the public discussion up here, what we're gonna use the building.
Well,
for.
because we haven't bought the building.
Yeah, we haven't bought the building, we haven't,
So how can
I
we
mean, you
decide
gotta
when-
do all the preliminary steps. And so we have to have those initial discussions
Well,
with the
it's
different entities first before you can have, shall we do this, so.
I understand.
Potential use.
Yes,
not-
these are potential.
Not
Potential,
locked use.
yeah.
Potential
Because-
use.
As, to me, it's absolutely pointless to have any discussions about what we're gonna do with it until we own. Until we have gone through this process, we cannot even really say what's gonna be done with any of the property if we don't even own it yet. What? Okay, so, Paul, if you think we can do this as a joint meeting, I'll let you make the motion. Or unless we should do them separately as you were thinking.
Well, I think
of
we need to
Stephen.
vote on them separately, but,
Well, we'll definitely
He's
vote
saying
on
our
the
motion could
resolutions.
be, like his motion could be, I would like, we're gonna go into a joint session of the local building
Right,
authority,
right.
right?
Yeah, but you just made it, go ahead.
Oh, motion to go into a joint session of the local building authority and the town council to approve these resolutions for the new church. Of the new building.
Second,
I'm going to do a roll call vote just because this is all going to involve money. So Paul, Jean, yes, Misty,
Yes.
Marcy,
Aye.
April,
Yes.
okay. Okay, so now then we need a motion to adopt, or I can make a motion to adopt what they call the authorization resolution of the local building authority of Virgin Town. Let's see. This is gonna be resolution 2024 dash, because we did JKL, we did KL, M, and N, so this will be O. R 2024 O is a resolution of the local building authority authorizing and approving the execution of an annually renewable lease agreement by and between the local building authority and Virgin Town, and authorizing the issuance and sale of lease revenue bonds, which you were asking about. Authorizing the execution of this master resolution execution of the security documents, and when I already mentioned the lease. This is for the financing for the cost of purchasing the property for use as a town hall and other public facilities. And providing for notice of a public hearing on July 23rd and for bonds to be issued.
I'll second.
So
Thank you, that was a lot, that was a mouthful for that
just
resolution.
so if there's any public listening, this is acting as our authority as a building authority.
The local building authority, correct. Let me see here where they ask for,
Should we make that a friendly amendment to the motion to say, at the very beginning of the motion to say, acting as the local building authority?
I think I did say that,
Did
because
you?
I said that was the local.
And the resolution says that also.
The resolution says that, and I did say yes, the local building authority. Okay. Okay, I thought there was a page on here to note what the vote was, but there is not. Okay. I thought I did.
There is a document, and it's already pre-filled out though, I think.
Yeah,
Well, this says who's here. This
Right,
is
there's
just-
another one that lists eyes. See if I can find it.
Yes, it's the same page where the resolution starts. Okay, so the motion was made by me. And who seconded?
I second it.
That's right, Marcy seconded. Okay, and now we will take a vote on the resolution. Paul, Jean, yes, Misty,
Yes.
Marcy,
Aye.
April,
Aye.
okay? Second item is a motion to approve the resolution of the Virgin Town Council authorizing an annually renewable lease, the master resolution, the security documents, and the issuance and sale by the local of bonds by the local building authority to finance the purchase of property for use as a town hall and other public facilities. And this will be resolution R 2024-P as in Paul.
was that your motion?
That was my motion.
Second.
Okay. You're right, I did phrase it as I will take a motion, but that was my motion. Thank you, Paul.
I just didn't want to have to repeat it.
Yes, I do not want to have to repeat it. Okay, and I will take votes starting with Marcy.
Aye.
Misty,
Yes.
Jean, yes, Paul,
Aye.
and April.
Aye.
Okay. And because these included the lease, the security and the security documents and the master resolution, they were included in this resolution. We do not need to do separate resolutions for these three. They were incorporated into these. Even the motion included the lease, the security documents and the master resolution. But from my review of all of these documents, when we complete everything, all of these are gonna have to be, Crystal and I go and sign them, and they all get notarized, everything. So that's it for this meeting, and, do you have anything else before we do a motion to adjourn? Anybody? Any other questions?
Not on this.
Okay,
But we're coming up at our next work session,
Yes,
and what's gonna be included on the work session?
on the work session, let's see.
Well, the main thing is, I can ask this directly, are we gonna do our own rules of procedure,
That's all.
discussion? Good, that's all I needed to know.
I've got those and planning commission on here too. I got a total on here.
That's fine.
But I also had, hold on, let me look, cause I already, my notebook where I keep track of the things I want on the agenda is, in my office. I don't have it here. But I did actually start an agenda. If you go on our town website, you go to the calendar on the town website. I started typing the agenda. If you go to the calendar
Yeah,
and click on the link and it opens up the page that talks about the meeting and giving the meeting details, I actually started typing notes on the agenda. And I have, oh, okay, here's what's gonna be on the work meeting agenda. Forgot about this. We have a rough draft of the new subdivision ordinance from the planner that at Sunrise. And he has indicated on there the answers, the questions that we, the town council, need to answer, that he'll then fill in. And then we can send this, he'll finish the subdivision ordinance, then eventually it can go to planning commission. That's on there. He has also drafted the ordinance adopting the water efficiency standards that the Water Conservancy District requires us to adopt by September 30th. And I thought we could just review those quickly, but that'll also go to, planning commission for on their agenda. And then I have review of town council procedures, review of planning commission procedures for meeting, town council procedures for meetings, planning commission procedures for meetings, and the planning commission details in Hulu chapter 4. That's what I have so far. Is there anything else that you guys want to be on there?
didn't we already address chapter 4 last meeting?
What happened is you said, I won't review any of those until we get our own house in order. So we did not discuss anything.
Oh, yeah, but we directed, planning board to give us a recommendation.
No, we didn't.
We didn't?
No,
I can't remember exactly what was said.
we did not.
I can't remember.
No.
Something changed, you made a request for part of that chapter to be changed, I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
But you wanted us to do our stuff before we took any. of their-
Anything, so we made no decisions on
Okay.
anything.
Yeah.
But I'm putting it on the work meeting again, because now that, I've got the planner from Sunrise going, he's drafted the water efficiency standards ordinance. He is going to go to the planning commission meeting coming up, and he's going to do a presentation on the ordinance to, planning commission. And this is how it would work with him in the meetings in the future, and that will take place before our work meeting. So we would have a chance to see how it works with him. And so I went ahead and put this on the agenda for, our work meeting, okay?
And shall we include, a change to the ordinance to require the posting of, DRC?
If you
I
do
will have it
have,
drafted. I will have it drafted before board meeting. And that'd be more or less directing it to recommendation from planning board, but
what?
because it's gotta go through planning board.
Yeah, I know, but why does that have to go to them before? Why does wait,
No,
you're gonna
no,
do what?
top down. We're gonna do top down.
No, oh, yes, it'll eventually have to go to planning.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were saying something different.
Yeah, I figured you did, so Let's go. Okay,
You're like,
what
what
do
do
you
you
think I'm saying?
Okay, no, I get it now. Okay.
For Misty and Marcy and April, we haven't been noticing DRC hearings. And so it's a matter of different ways people are interpreting the statute. So I'm just gonna make it clear that we gotta do a notice, 24-hour notice before each DRC meeting. And it's old adage, how do you know there's a public meeting if you don't know there's a public meeting? How can a public meeting be there?
If something's appealable, how do you appeal it if there's no notice that something's trying?
So,
There's something appealable from a DRC meeting? There's nothing appealable.
no,
from that.
probably not.
There's nothing appealable.
not
But
really.
it's,
So what if the, what if
Oh,
the,
Stop, April, hold on.
it's not open to public comment. It's just a matter of, you got a meeting, how do people know to attend and to watch the meeting if they have no idea when it is? And so that's all it's doing. It's just saying when we passed it, that was my understanding of what was gonna happen and hasn't been happening. So we can have the discussion next week. So I told the mayor I would draft an ordinance and bring it to us to decide whether we want to do it or not. So we can discuss it at the work session.
Because he and I have a disagreement on interpretation of public body of state code. Okay, now, you were about to say something, but hold on, April, I'm gonna ask Marcy what she said, then I'll think what you were gonna say. You were
What I
gonna
was
say.
saying about appeal steps is usually before something gets to the DRC, that means an application has been filed or submitted.
Correct,
Probably granted.
no,
No, okay, nothing's granted.
no, not when it goes to DRC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but that's just a way for the public to know that there's a activity or a development or something that they might want to have something to say about it. So just, that helps keep the public informed.
Okay, April, what were you gonna say?
so I couldn't hear it clearly. Did someone say that, are there any like billables to the DRC or?
What's a billable?
I don't know. I thought I heard someone say that. Was I?
I thought you said it.
Appeals.
Oh,
They were-
appeal. Oh, okay. Okay, never mind.
I think it is. Marcy was asking if it was possible to appeal a decision of the DRC, and we said,
Oh,
no,
oh,
we're
okay.
really making those kind of decisions that get appealed. Because after a DRC, it goes to planning commission,
Okay,
and that is where a decision is made that could be appealed.
I see.
Okay, anything else that you guys would like to be on the work meeting? I don't really know what's gonna be coming to planning commission.
I haven't spoken to them, so I can't give you the liaison version of it yet.
I did have a question about the hall.
The home?
Hall zone change.
Oh, okay.
We're at about 6 months, aren't we, or we're getting close?
We are, I had thought that, I thought planning commission was going to put it on their agenda in June, and they did not. And I don't see it on the agenda for July the 10th either. But, and I had seen, Darcy's brother at a meeting recently, and I said, hey, we're gonna be putting your mom's zone change back on the agenda, and he's like, great. And it hasn't been on the agenda. So I thought it was gonna go on the June agenda. I thought when the way we left it, it was gonna go on the June agenda, even at the town council.
Yeah,
meeting. I thought it was, that's what it was.
So yeah, we need to look at how that was worded because it was a motion to deny.
And it failed, and so what we ended up doing is, it was not a motion to deny, there was a motion to approve that
And it
failed.
failed.
And then he said, can we table this until, and we
And
did.
then the motion to table it, I think the motion to table it with the date.
And I thought it was June. And it was going to be after we took short-term rentals out of commercial, which we did that. So it can go, they can now have a hearing for it on the zone change. Or vote on the zone change, whatever you want to do, it can go back on the calendar and plan.
Did they need to do anything first? Or is it just?
I think we need to look at how the motion was phrased.
And why we did it.
Because why we did it is, it was a motion to approve, it failed.
Right.
And so the position the attorney took is that it was still
Yeah.
there. I don't know if that's correct or not. We didn't have Keith here to tell us whether then we had to do another motion to deny it or not. I think it just failed and it just sits there until we do something about it.
Yeah, okay,
But we agreed to table it so we could consider a new one. So the question is if we haven't come back with the zone changes, I mean, we could
well, the only problem,
probably continue it again. I don't know. We have
because
to look at it.
the only problem was that we wanted short-term rental out of commercial. That was it. She wants to change from rural residential to commercial. And the whole reason it got voted down was that it wasn't approved is because that was my understanding.
No,
What else is there?
no, some of the uses in commercial too intense to be next to a residential district. That was
Wait, yeah.
my basis for my vote. And so my suggestion is the town needs to create a different zone that is municipal, that has less intense uses, we may all disagree, but less intense uses next to the residential. And that's what we were supposed to do and come up with.
Well, that's what planning commission was supposed to do.
Yes.
Tom.
Well, come up with for us to consider.
Yes.
Because at the point it was at, we actually, because our ordinances allow for it, it was a question of whether or not we'd actually deny it. I remember that conversation was a strong part of why he said to table it.
Yeah, that's his argument, but I disagree with
Because
that.
our ordinances allow.
Well, I have put on.
And I think Keith would say no, because if that was the case, why would we even need to consider the motion?
Okay,
Zone change?
so I have put on here, that we're gonna look at the Shirley Hall zone change. I'll put that on the review. So we'll look at it, review exactly what the motion was and what we were looking at.
Look at the minutes.
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah,
Well, yeah, so we need to find out where the planning board is on that. Exactly.
yeah, exactly. We need to find out, that's why I've got planning commission procedures for meetings on the agenda for us to look at the work meeting. So, I'm going to take the three, ordinances that planning commission has for the public hearing on the 10th. I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna put them in a folder on SharePoint for town council to look at. I want you guys to look at these and keep these in mind when we go to talk about procedures for these meetings. When you look at these proposed ordinances, it's each one is over 20 pages long. And it seems I'm trying to think of a diplomatic phrase, not redundant, no, not redundant at all.
Maybe
Overdone.
thorough,
What'd you say?
very thorough.
No, no, it's,
Is it tilted one way or the other?
let's just say you're gonna look at this ordinance and there's cut and paste from here and here, and there's this font, that font, but it's, you look at it and you're just going, what? How am I supposed to read this? This is a proposed ordinance that's set for public hearing. It is, it's shocking that this is what's been put out there for public hearing. I can't imagine what the public's gonna say when they come in for this hearing.
I wonder how they feel about it.
But I'm gonna do this right here while we're sitting here. I'm going to copy these and put them in there. For planning commission and put them in public here in our folder right now for the July work meeting. That's all I can say. It's just
They need to be cleaned up.
mind blowing.
I prefer you use the town website and meeting packets. Cause they're put together so well and they're organized and there's no closing this document, open this document. I love it. It works so well. I might miss something if it's in SharePoint,
I
but
make the motion that we adjourn the town authority meeting.
The
Oh,
town council.
The local building
The
authority.
local building authority meeting, so that way we're just in town council.
Thank you. I never even thought of that.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're still in town, okay, so we're still in town council. All right, so let's see, I am going to take this right here. We go to,
I didn't mean to open up a whole discussion, I'm just curious what we're gonna be discussing next week.
no, it's okay, it's perfectly.
So I know what to kind of prepare for in a week or so, I guess it's a week.
I'm glad you asked, and Jean, are you, as if time permits, gonna try and continue, this information on the website, links to the calendar? I mean, I think what you did.
Did you look at it?
Mhm.
I was really pleased with how it came out. I thought this way, anybody who clicks on the link to see about the meeting would be able to see just the details. And I thought, well, this is pretty good. I kind of like that.
The sooner I know in advance to get ready for me, so always, the more time I have. the better, So,
We each have our own different time schedules.
yeah,
Yes.
so I think this is great. I love having this much notice. Thanks. I'm excited.
All right, I'm trying to upload this. We'll see if it uploads it.
Is that connected to our calendars or is that just connected to the town calendar?
I'll show you, or you can show her on your calendar, on your website.
I mean. So, yeah. Just go.
That's nice.
So.
I thought it looked pretty good.
Let's use our. Yeah.
Okay.
Makes life easier. Especially when you open your calendar on your phone. They look like that.
I don't do calendars.
Probably why. Oh, I made a copy of this code that came out. Yeah, there it is. We're about done. We're about to close the meeting. Is that Jonathan? Okay. Does that mean he was over at the town hall looking for you and the town hall was closed? I was looking at the Open Public Meetings Act the other day. And there is a new code section that the state adopted. It's new this year and it just went into effect May 1st. And the number is 52-4-208. And by the way, these three ordinances that I wanted you to look at are now in the July 11th work meeting folder for town council on town council's SharePoint. These three ordinances that I was concerned about from planning commission are on. So this new code section that I thought we should all know about. And it went into effect May 1st. And it says individuals constituting a quorum of a public body may not act together outside a meeting in a concerted and deliberate way to predetermine an action to be taken by the public body at a meeting.
That was-
Doesn't matter.
That was brought up in the training.
In January.
Yeah.
In your January training?
Yeah.
Because previous mayors used to go around and call everybody and say, how are you gonna vote? How are you gonna vote? How are you gonna vote? But they do it individually. And ask, how are you going to vote? Because they want to know what was gonna happen at the meeting. And, when I saw this, if they mentioned it, and I was at the training session as you guys, but if I missed it, I missed it. But I read this the other day and I went, oh, well, this prevents mayors that used to do this from doing this. You cannot do this, because it used to drive me crazy. to see it done and say, that's violating the spirit of the Open and Public Meetings Act, and this is just wrong. And the response was, there's nothing that says we can't do it. And I said, okay. And now it says you can't do it, which makes me happy. But I thought it's funny because we have this code section now that you can't do it. And someone asked me, so do you think that the resolution's gonna pass today? I said, I don't know. And they asked, well, what do you think is gonna happen on the ordinance regarding square footage? I said, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know. And I thought, I don't ask. And so I was like, when I saw this code section, I was like, good thing I don't ask.
In Montana, mayors and, town managers and city managers will bring 2 council people in at a time, because 3 constitute a quorum.
Uh-huh.
So you talk to 2 of them, and then you'll have lunch later with the other 2, and then you bring one, you know. So that's how they got around.
But
Never supposed to, but that's how.
But that's the same.
That's what this is preventing. It's that.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, okay, anything else, or can we adjourn our meeting that I thought was going to be a 30-minute meeting? That it has now been an hour and 20 minutes. But we got
Motion to adjourn the town council meeting.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right, April, go enjoy your vacation.
Well, thank
We'll
you.
see you when are you going to attend the work meeting by Zoom?
Yes, no,
Okay.
I'll be in person.
No, you're not gonna be here for the work meeting, but you will be
No.
here for the, neither one.
No,
She's gonna be here for both.
I will be here for the work meeting, but I will not be, I will be on Zoom for the regular meeting.
Okay, all right, okay. The regular meeting is the 16th and the work meeting is the 11th.